Good morning, and thank you for joining us here online or wherever you are in your homes at First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are welcome here. Whoever you love or however you worship, you are welcome here. We only have a few announcements this morning. One, I'd like to invite the members of our congregation to look out in their email for news on a congregational meeting that should be happening mostly online by May 31st. There may be some other discussions of ways that you can be involved in the meeting and cast your vote even if you're unable to attend physically or virtually. Also, I'd like to make the announcement of thanking Guy Thornton, David Winkowski, Julie Hevelone, and Misha Brezhnev for making the service possible this morning, despite all of the complications that I have thrown at them so early today. And happy Mother's Day to everyone watching at home. As I invite you to worship this morning with the words, "Even in the most broken places, there's room for love." Mother's Day is complicated. Joyful for many, yes, but complicated. It's right there on the calendar, even if your mother has died. Even if you've been told yet again that you're still not pregnant. Or if you've never been more scared than you are right now because you are pregnant. It's Mother's Day. Even if your own mother's priorities included everything but you, there's going to be a Mother's Day Google Doodle with flowers and pink stuff. Even if you have scars, ones you can see or ones you can't, it's Mother's Day. That cake mix commercial is going to roll out 4 times an hour when you can't stop shaking and crying because you can't believe you've slapped your little boy today. It's Mother's Day. And we all have to live with that in those silent, breathless moments. Because even when the baby dies, it's Mother's Day. And so let's go to church. Let's be a church, and where we can acknowledge how difficult it is to have this day, right alongside how joyful this day can be. Let's be a church where we don't pretend that there aren't inky depths of space between us even when we sing. Let's be a church that fills the space between our differences with love. Because even in the most broken places, there is room for love. And we can be that church. I'd like to invite you to join me in singing just a part of the opening verse of hymn number 97, "Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child." Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Long way from home. Long way from home. I'd like to join you in the responsive reading for our chalice lighting this morning. On Mother's Day, let us mark how beautiful and complex it can be to mother and be mothered. To those who have mothered, we thank you. To those who rejoice in the work, the role, the presence of mothering and motherers, we celebrate you. To those who are in the thick of parenting children of any age, we appreciate you. To those who experience loss through infertility, abortion, miscarriage, adoption, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who have lost their mothers, we grieve with you. To those who have endured abuse at the hands of their mothers, we acknowledge you. To those who experience pain in the marking of this day, we witness you. To those who are single moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, foster moms, adoptive moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. And those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. May we reflect with gratitude on the wide spectrum of mothering that happens in our lives and in our communities as we light this chalice flame. I'd like to invite you to join us in your homes in reading our church's covenant with one another. As soon as I can get our chalice flame lit. Oh, hold on. There we go. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. I'd like to invite you now in singing along with us in our doxology. Sing loudly till the stars have heard. In joy feast on this bounteous word. Our praises call us to explore till suns shall rise and set no more. Normally, this would be the time when we would pass around the plate for our offertory here at First Jefferson. I would like to remind everyone in the congregation that during this time of social distancing and our inability to be here together and present in this room, that we still need those pledges in whenever you can get them to us, either mail them in or drop them off here at the church. Every quarter we share a portion of our donations with a local nonprofit organization. This quarter, that organization is Eastside Community Ministries. We are grateful to be partnering with them during these times when they are able to help so many people. It is now that I have arranged a bit of a special treat, although I say Guy Thornton and Julie Hevelone had helped me significantly in pulling this off this morning. But we have, for our story of all ages, a story that my mother used to read to me when I was a kid, called The Runaway Bunny by Margaret Wise Brown. But instead of hearing it from me, I have invited the church's unofficial mother to come join us and read this story to us today. So I would like to invite all the children to come sit up close to the screen and listen to Joe Burnham read the story of a runaway bunny.
Once there was a little bunny who wanted to run away. So he said to his mother, "I'm running away." "If you run away," said his mother, "I will run after you, for you are my little bunny." "If you run after me," said the little bunny, "I will become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you." "If you become a fish in a trout stream," said his mother, "I will become a fisherman, and I will fish for you." "If you become a fisherman," said the little bunny, "I will become a rock on the mountain, high above you." "If you become a rock on the mountain, high above me," said his mother, "I will be a mountain climber, and I will climb to where you are." See, there she is climbing. "If you become a mountain climber," said the little bunny, "I will be a crocus in a hidden garden." "If you become a crocus in a hidden garden," said his mother, "I will be a gardener, and I will find you." There she is. If you are a gardener and find me, said the little bunny, I will be a bird and fly away from you. If you become a little bird and fly away from me, said his mother, I will be a tree that you come home to. And there she is, dressed like a tree. If you become a tree, said the little bunny, I will become a little sailboat, and I will sail away from you. If you become a sailboat and sail away from me, said his mother, I will become the wind and blow you where I want you to go. And there she is, being the wind. If you become the wind and blow me, said the little bunny, I will join a circus and fly away on a trapeze. If you go flying on a flying trapeze, said his mother, I will be a tightrope walker, and I will walk across the air to you. There she is, walking a tightrope. If you become a tightrope walker and walk across the air, said the bunny, I will become a little boy and run into a house. If you become a little boy and run into a house, said his mother bunny, I will become your mother and catch you in my arms and hug you. There she is, hugging him. Shucks, said the little bunny, I might just as well stay where I am and be your little bunny. And so he did. Have a carrot, said the mother bunny. And there they are. And that's the story of the runaway bunny.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was a very special treat for all of us. It's at this time that I'd like you all in your homes where you are to join us in the spirit of meditation and prayer. A meditation for Mother's Day. This is the kind of God I could worship. A heavenly mother who prefers imitation to adoration and who sees in all creation the indivisible smiles of her children. Our mother, Holy Wisdom, draws one breath, and even we who are miles away are warmed by the glory of her inspiration. Our mother, Holy Wisdom, reaches out, and even we, locked up against ourselves, are immersed in the blessing of her embrace. This earth is her body, and we, children of the earth, are her children. It really is as simple as that. Let us honor our Holy Mother by loving our bodies made in her image, by loving one another as she has loved us, and by loving this earth, our beautiful and eternal home. Thank you for that, Misha. Our reading this morning is entitled May Means Mother's Day by Katie Lee Crane. May means Mother's Day. I'm going to trust Hallmark and daddies and 6-year-olds and grown-up kids who are mommies themselves to honor the mothers among us as they deserve to be honored. With brass bands, flags flying, breakfast in bed, and kitchens cleaned up afterwards, I wish for those mothers a memorable day full of love and laughter. Sadly, I don't trust Hallmark to remember the feelings of the women who don't fit Mother's Day in quite the same wonderful way. There are no cards on the rack for the women who gave up children for adoption, never to see them again. No cards for the women who face the painful and difficult choice to end a pregnancy. No cards for women who desperately want to conceive and bear children and cannot. No cards for women who have lost children of any age. For the women, those children have abandoned them in anger. There is little consolation for them on the day so full of motherhood. Every year when Mother's Day rolls around, I wish there were just a little less hype about traditional motherhood and a little more acknowledgement of not-so-traditional mothers in our midst. People who come in all colors, shapes, sizes, genders, and ages. And more than anything, I wish there was a lot more empathy for those who suffer because as mothers are being honored, they don't fit into quite the same wonderful way. Let us honor them all on this day. Women who conceived, women who bore, women who reared, women who lost, women who let go, women who made different choices, and people of any gender who mother. Happy day. May each of you know your worth to all of us. I'd like you to join me in singing verses 1 and 3 of hymn number 127 from our hymnal, Can I See Another's Woe? Can I see another's woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? Can a mother sit and hear infant groan and infant fear? No, no, never can it be. Never, never can it be. Hello, and happy Mother's Day. From us at First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church to you. When I spoke to my own mother about today's service, she asked me, "What are you going to talk about?" I responded, "Well, it's Mother's Day." And she said, "Well, the minister rarely ever just talks about Mother's Day for a sermon." "Don't tell me what to do, Mom." And I get it. Mother's Day is more often recognized first and foremost as a commercial holiday, created to sell greeting cards and flowers and candy. I can only imagine what anyone watching this at home was imagining when they clicked on a sermon simply titled Mother's Day. The holiday is appreciated by most mothers, and I do not want to take any power away from those celebrations taking place all over the country. But an unfortunate consequence of the holiday can often be a depiction of an unrealistic, fantastical mother, a mom made of love and sprinkles who does nothing but care and give, and to a lot of the real world's mothers, the comparison doesn't seem fair. An awkward sensation also tickles the hairs on the back of my neck when I approach a topic like motherhood as, well, frankly, a man. I cannot speak about what it is to be a mother, and I am not going to pretend that I should. I can only really speak about the mothers in my own life. At a young age, I learned about the greeting card mothers, the mothers that were held up on pedestals, the imaginary, Donna Reed, perfect mothers that only cook and clean and care and love and show affection. And I might have concluded that all mothers fit that model of maternity, because that is the type of mother that my grandmothers seemed to be. My paternal grandmother was the first person I loved who died. When I think about her now, I see her smile. Another child in the family had mispronounced her given name Doris years earlier by calling her Dorsey, and the name stuck for all of her grandchildren that came later. Dorsey had an amazing smile that seemed to require her whole face. Her big round cheeks would get pushed up so far and out on her face that her eyes looked like they were being forced to squint shut, a feature I have noticed in my own smile. And when I think about her now, she felt like hugs. Dorsey was a thick woman, though not tall, and she always wore frilly house gowns, so when she hugged you, it felt like being wrapped in a blanket that loved you. I have no memories of any of her cooking, nor do I have any memory of her being particularly fond of cooking, but I remember how happy it seemed to make her whenever she was able to give me a ginger ale or a powdered mini donut. Like giving me sweets somehow rewarded her. Dorsey was actually the driving force behind my parents getting together. My mom was college friends with my dad's brother, and Dorsey, having met my mother, insisted that my uncle introduce them to one another. Without her, my family would not be, in more ways than one. It was my own mother who had to tell me over the phone that Dorsey had died suddenly when I was 12, a responsibility my mother has maintained since that day. I wore black for a month, and I did not attend the funeral. I was not ready to see my Dorsey as anything less than what she had always been for me. The blessing and the curse of losing a grandmother at such a young age is that while I never got to know Dorsey as an adult, she was never able to become anything other than my childhood image of her up on a pedestal. An image that may always be one-dimensional. Donna Reed. Hugs and smiles. My maternal grandmother lived much, much longer, only passing away last spring. She was like a second mother to me for most of my life because she lived so much closer to my parents. She was a career educator who retired from being an elementary school principal when I was 14. She was one of those rare, beloved principals. In high school, I mentioned to a classmate who had attended her school that Ursel Benz was my grandmother, and she said, "Miss Benz? Oh, I love Miss Benz. How is she?" She had that effect on people. Now, I could go on and on about the amazing tales and exploits of my grandmother. For instance, she took care of me every other weekend for the first year of my life. She helped me with my dyslexia when I was in grade school. She took my sister and I to Disney World, and she took me and each one of my cousins on trips around the country when we all turned 16. And those are just a few of the stories about me and her grandchildren. There were so many amazing stories from her life that the only complaint I remember hearing at her memorial service was that it went too long, that there were too many stories to tell. When I think about her now, I think about how much she encouraged me, how much she believed in me, how much that determination is still inside me. She thought I could do anything. She had convinced me, without ever saying it, that I was her favorite grandchild. The funny thing was, she had somehow convinced all of my cousins and my sister of the exact same thing. There is something about grandmothers, a fantastic assumption of loving perfection that makes mothers roll their eyes. Of course she's amazing. She only has to watch you for a few hours and give you a bunch of sugar and hugs before sending you home to your mother to deal with you. Mothers do not get the same credit on a daily basis, perhaps because they are still performing the day-to-day work of the job. Perhaps this is where the myth of some fantastic or magical mother begins to fall apart for many of us. Being a mother is not all sunshine and rainbows and bippity-boppity-boo. Being a mother is hard. No matter how you do it and no matter what kind of mother you are, stepmother, mother-in-law, adopted mother, expecting mother, biological or not, being a mother is hard. It's difficult to love someone that much and to not be able to do everything for them. But being a mother is like being any other kind of human being. Some do it differently than others. One problem I see is that when we hold them up to the impossible standard of the greeting card mom, the perfect mom, we take that unique and individual piece of her humanity away from her. My mother-in-law is not like my mother. Her name is Cynthia, and she is a mother, a stepmother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother, and a mother-in-law. She is also retired from the military and the Department of Defense and still works to this day filing taxes. When we first moved to Texas, we lived with Cynthia and my father-in-law and my sister-in-law and her family. There were a lot of us under one roof. Too many for me, actually. And we eventually ended up moving out of a home that felt a little bit too crowded. But I don't think it felt crowded for Cynthia. She had seen her own mother harbor far more families under a single roof during far harder times, and I think offering us safe harbor, no matter how crowded it was an act of motherly love. I know I have thanked her for that hospitality, for that mothering that was given without being asked, but I have not yet thanked her for the lesson of family care no matter what. Thank you, Cynthia. I know we butt heads at times, but I am grateful for all that you have done for us and all that you have taught me. You see, I personally used to butt heads with my own mother so much that being a combative with mothers was my go-to for a long time, which did not work so very well with the retired military tax filer. You see, so much of my childhood, my mother was the primary financial provider in our family. My father was the cook and the housekeeper and the after-schools activity valet. My mother was the breadwinner, and she was also the disciplinarian. So when I was rebellious, when I pushed back against authority, it was usually against my mom. For years, this regular combative element to my relationship with my mom made me think that we did not have a good relationship. I thought I was one of those people that had mommy issues. I have since learned better. I have met people, heard stories, seen documentaries, and heard testimonials from people most of my adult life about women who may have given birth, and they may have been called mothers, but they fell unforgivably short of earning the title. I do not need to raise any of them up today. Today is for celebrating and praising the mothers who earned that title every day by doing the best they could, the best they knew how, with whatever means they had. It has only been in the last year that I realized I was raised by a feminist, and that I have become a feminist, and that I have my mother to thank for it. The dozens of times she corrected sexism, racism, homophobia, and any other form of inequality in film and television seemed like little corrections at the time. I had no idea that she was teaching me about human equality. Thank you, Mom. All the times that she scolded or even punished me as a child were a source of pure anger for me. Yet, as a parent now myself, whenever I search my brain for the right wording to scold my child with, I find my mom's voice and the words to be the most kind. I can only imagine what horrible things I would say if I did not have that filter of my mother's words. Thank you, Mom. Every time I find myself cuddling with and tickling my son as we play on the couch in our living room, I am reminded of all the affection my mother showed me and my sister when we were little. I realize that I am teaching my son to be affectionate in the same way, and I am grateful for that nature in my mother, in myself, and being passed on to my son. Thank you, Mom. My mother taught me about death while mourning with me. Thank you, Mom. My mother taught me about love, even when it means butting heads. Thank you, Mom. We know that we all start off as small parts of our mothers, but we don't always realize that our mothers end up being small parts of us too. The mothers in our lives become a part of who we are. As many of you know, my wife Heather is about to be a mother for the second time. I see her every day during these strange times we are living in, doing her best, trying her hardest to be that perfect mom. She knows she can't be perfect, and sometimes she blames herself for it. She falls short of her own expectations all the time, and those failures only result in more determination. Perhaps always trying to improve, to do better, is part of what makes being a mother so powerful. Perhaps trying to do the impossible is what makes it so hard. The mothers in our lives are amazing, not because they are magical, not because they have it all figured out or because they can do anything, but because they are the mothers in our lives. They are part of who we are. They love us even when we do not see it. They care for us, even if it's in ways we do not understand. They push themselves to do their best, even when the best is impossible. They are amazing. They are human. They are mothers. And today, we celebrate them. I'd like to invite you to join me in singing the second verse of our closing hymn, number 409, Sleep, My Child. This flame has been a symbol of our brightened and warm time together this morning. We can extinguish it as we take it with us, a new inspired vision of where we go again on our separate ways. Whoever the mothers are in your life, I hope you celebrate them today. And if that word has a weight for you that doesn't feel fair, I hope that weight is lifted, even for a brief time.